So now we'll move on to card 2 for our June online workshop, and we're sticking with the Zany Zoo paper in one respect in terms of our die cut here, but I've actually switched this out and I'll show you. Let me grab that. You could do as I did for the last one and use an unused portion of the back of this. It gives a nice black background for you to actually put this card together, and would work very well. So if you're only getting the one pack of paper, then this is a great pack to use. But like I say, I just love these little animals. I've used this one before. I'll link to the card that I made with it. And that I fussy cut out. I did have to fussy cut that, but they're just so cute. So what I've done instead is switch to the paper pack that we're moving on to for projects 3 and 4, and that's the Delightfully Eclectic paper. Now I'm using the black and white side. Obviously you can choose what you want to use. This has got a lovely floral design on the other side, but I like this to be able to use for the background. Again, we've got a black and white design, and there's a few black and white designs. I'll point those out as we go into the Delightfully Eclectic mix, but this works really well. Now we've die cut out, and I've just done it. What I did was just rough cut from a portion here and then die cut, so that, because you're going to have to cut your paper up somehow for it to go through the cut and emboss machine. So a rough cut around it means that we waste less paper. So I then die cut that out. Again, you can see that's a bit busy for that background. So I'm going to put it onto the basic black card here. But then I've cut the panel for behind it, and this is petal pink. I've cut that longer so that we can use that bit there for stamping our sentiment. So we're going to do that first, and let me just bring in the catalogue again to just double check and show you. You can mix and match these animals to your heart's content. Of course, you could always stamp and colour them yourselves to whatever colour scheme you want, but you can see these are the colours that are in the papers, and I'm using the petal pink. Now the ribbon pack, let me grab it, does include a petal pink ribbon as well. We're not using that for this card because what I've actually brought in is the adhesive back solid gems. Now these are a pack that I've been using recently. There's 3 different colours in there. There's the copper clay, the lemon lolly and the boho blue, and we're using the lemon lolly. It goes quite nicely with the knitting here, as you will see. So let me just move things out of the way. So now for the sentiment, we could put the happy birthday in again, but I wanted to switch it up. So I am going to use, when I find where I put them down, here they are. And there's the adhesive dots. So the copper clay, the boho blue and the lemon lolly. So I'm going to use the charming sentiments. I'm going to use a thank you because I'm always in need of thank yous. Let's just double check that that does fit. There's enough space there that quite a few different stamps will fit. The issue is going to be how narrow the panel is. If when you've stamped it, it's a bit too long, say for example, you were using this hay there, that might leave a bit too much at the bottom. You can very simply trim the end of that off. What I would do is just keep that in place, or actually no, easiest is sort of stamp it at the base. I'm going to do that, then move that down to where it needs to be and trim off the end here. But I would hold it in place and trim it rather than sticking it down, because then you can, once it is trimmed, you can stick it exactly where you want it. So let's stamp this. Like I say, I'm going to use the thank you and grab a mat when I can find where I put my mat. As it's a photo polymer. So my rather sun bleached mat, I've got 2 because I use them so much. So I'll get that lined up on my mat, and I'm just going to stamp this and try and get that straight like that. There we are. So I'll just take the insert out. We've got insert and a little banner, which is offcut of this. So we're just going to adhere this to the card front. And sorry if you can hear the dog snoring under the desk. He's here in my craft room with me. So we'll pop that on. Get that nice and centered like that, and then I'm going to pop this on here. So let me show you what I meant. There's a little bit of room here for me to do this, so I'm just going to pop that down like that, line that up in there, and I'm just making sure that my groove is going to come down like that. So I've trimmed that away, and now I can adhere that there. So I'm going to put this on flat. So I just want to make sure that I get this. I'm going to stand up so that I can try and make sure that it's central, and I'm just making sure that I need to work it that way around it. Just so this is the top and the sides, even though I've rotated it around. I'm just making sure that all 3 of those are even. Doesn't really matter about this bottom bit. So I'm now going to pop this up on dimensionals. And the idea of stamping first is, if you had made a mistake with that thank you or whichever sentiment you're using, then you can always flip over and use the other side. So I'm going to pop a couple in the centre there, and then in betweens like that. So we've got all of those on. And of course, if you're doing this with your own stamps and dies at home, if you're using a different colour, a different one, then you might want to change the colour scheme. So I think that looks about even there. And then I'm going to pop my little llama up, and I don't think I need mini dimensionals so much for this one. I'm going to pop a couple down there at the base. So, and I've basically just taken my cue from the colours in the DSP for my card colour. So I'm now going to take the adhesive dots, and I'm actually going to use the big one on the ball of knitting wool down there, And then I'm just going to use a couple of little ones there, like that. So now for our insert, I'm going back to my Zany Zoo stamp set, and I'm going to use that little fella, and I'm going to use the You're Too Wonderful stamp sentiment. So I'm just going to sort of keep this here, and because I'm not using the photo polymer set, we're good. We don't need to have the mat in the background. So I'm going to stamp this up here like that, and then I'm using this little skunk, I think it is, and what I will do is I'm wanting to place him about here, so I'll just move that out of the way and stamp him like that. And now we can pop this down here, just move that around, or you could leave this out entirely, it's entirely up to you. So I'm putting this upside down just because I want to get this at his feet, but then get it straight. There we are. And that works like that. And now we just need to add this to the inside of our card. Obviously you change whatever sentiment you prefer. You're going to need to supply your own stamps, but you will get the die cut llama for the outside of the card. So just pop that on like that, flip it up, flip it over and press from the back so we don't smudge. And there is card 2. So there we have our second Zany Zoo. So we're going to be moving on now to have a little look at the Delightfully Eclectic papers and create a couple of projects with those.